Welcome back, everyone, to the Backmarkers F1 Show channel for another race preview. This week, we are looking ahead to the Sakhir Grand Prix on the Bahrain, well, what is the original Bahrain Grand Prix layout, but it is an alternate layout. Now, if you are familiar with the Grand Prix previews on our channel, it is usually me, but today is a very special episode. I'm joined once again by Tyler McDonald. Tyler, wasn't too long ago I saw you for the podcast last night. Good to have you on again.
Yeah, it's some crazy stuff coming down through the Twitterverse, the news world in F1, and some changes down on the paddock for this race coming up and for 2021 as well. So it was important to get a nice little podcast out of our reactions and our thoughts on this, because it was a wild hour and a half, 2 hours on F1 Twitter.
Yeah, wild is an understatement. This is probably one of the craziest days and weeks, I guess, in F1 since we've been covering it. And yeah, I know you were up super early this morning at 4 a.m. for your work. And by the time I got up around 7:30, I already saw your message talking about, it's already popped off, the crazy news. And you suggested, we should just do another podcast and update everything that we did. So here we are. If you guys haven't seen our Bahrain Grand Prix recap and also just kind of talking about some of the breaking news that happened yesterday, that's available in the annotations in this video above and also in the description below. But today we're going to look at the outer layout of the Bahrain Grand Prix circuit, the Sakhir circuit, and then also just talk about all the crazy breaking news. And then hopefully by the time this gets uploaded, everything will have died down, and then this will stay relevant for the next couple of days. So that will be good. So let's start off by looking at the outer track of the Bahrain International Circuit, the oval or whatever you want to call it. But this is a very unique circuit because it'll be maybe in the history of Formula One, one of the shortest laps ever on record. It's only 3.5 kilometers in length, but they're expecting the lap time to be less than a minute in qualifying, a total of 87 laps to be held over a complete distance of 307 kilometers. And Tyler, here we have the circuit here. I mean, it's somewhat familiar because you can see the similarities. Of course, turn 1, 2, and 3 are similar and part of turn 4. But first thoughts here on this outer layout here.
Surprised they didn't go with 3 DRS zones to just create full-on chaos, because that would have been really interesting with 3 back-to-back DRS zones. It's an interesting layout, of course. It's everyone's calling it the return of oval to the F1 calendar, which I guess in a way, I mean, a little bit. If you're an oval racing fan, this isn't even close to an oval. But no, it's an interesting circuit. I think it's going to be there's going to be a lot of late breaking overtakes, which will favor most likely Daniel Ricciardo. Alex Albon's pretty handy on the brakes as well, so watch out for him this weekend. And was it maybe 2 or 3 fast high downforce corners, but I think you're going to see a lot of low downforce packages for this race. I think you have to.
Yeah, and one of the things too, obviously, about the circuit, it's going to favor a lot of the teams that have good engine performance. So expecting Ferrari to struggle, but we have talked about in the previous episodes too how Renault have a pretty good low downforce package, which is going to be important for them to kind of claw back those points in the fight for third.
Racing points pretty handy in a straight line too.
Yep.
They could be favored for a lot of high speed DRS overtakes, especially down turn 1 and then going down to turn 4 as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at the track, like you mentioned, the 2 DRS zones, now some of it that's obviously very familiar because they are using part of the original layout of the Sakhir circuit. As I mentioned before, the turn 1, 2, 3 combination, and then turn 4 is there as well. But as you'll notice in the onboard, which we're going to take a look at in just a second, instead of going straight, which would be then the right-handers of 5 and then the left of 6, they kind of take a hard left turn there as well. And it's a very quick lap, and you'll see how quickly it's just over as well. And also pit stop time, obviously, for the race, you lose about 25 seconds or so in taking a pit stop for this race. So like you mentioned, it's about half the lap. Yeah. So
87 laps is going to be pretty interesting too. Like that's a lot of laps that could favor. I know we don't usually see that high amount of laps, still around the same amount of kilometers, but we could see, well, hopefully not, but we could see Williams cars going 4 or 5 laps down.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to bring up that point that blue flags could be an issue very quickly in the race, before where it maybe take 30 or so laps to get some first blue flags. It might be 10 to 20 laps this time around. And also pay attention for if we have safety cars or double wave yellows, because it's such a short circuit. I think it's going to be difficult if there are some incidents to clear, maybe without the need of a safety car, just because of the nature of this layout and stuff. So it could make this
Good
race
point.
very, very interesting. I'm very much looking forward to it, and obviously all the other reasons that we're going to get
Yeah.
to of why this could be one of the best race weekends we've had in a long while. But so you've seen the outer layout as well. If you want to know some bit more info, you can go to Formula1.com. But they just kind of give you a little bit more info generally on the Sakhir circuit itself, which I think most of us are already pretty familiar with. But one thing that we are not familiar with is this exact layout. We haven't really seen it before. So this is courtesy of Williams Racing on Twitter. And this is, I'm not exactly sure which esports driver, but Tyler, let's ride along here.
Hi everyone, I'm Martin Stefanko from
There we go.
Williams Esports, and today
So I'm just going to lower the volume here, and let's take a look at a flying lap here of the outer layout of the circuit.
Yeah, you can see very high speed going down into turn one, late braking as what is the normal Bahrain circuit. Same turn 2 and turn 3 here coming up, and then another long straightaway, another DRS zone as well will be the first one of the lap, technically. And then going down into turn 4, and this is where we split off here. As you can see, takes a left and goes into the outer circuit, and this is the high speed, high downforce part of the track, and it doesn't take long to clear these 4, 5, and 6 corners. And then you see this back onto the normal Bahrain track, and this is down the back straightaway. No DRS for this portion of the straightaway. And then finally braking into the last 2 corners and up to the line DRS zone. And just like that, it's over, Chris. I mean, there's not much to break down on that lap. It's going to be a wild one.
Okay, my turn. Let me try now.
Let's do it. Go for it.
Yeah, no, that was really quick. The only other, the part that I kind of wanted to highlight, that's sort of, I guess, my favorite part of this outer layout track is this quick little chicane combination here that comes after this right-hander. It's sort of, I guess, the slowest part, I guess, of what you would call maybe this circuit, maybe outside of turn 2 and 3. But I just kind of like that little chicane combination, throwing the car from left to right. But yeah, like you said, it's snap of the fingers and you'll miss it.
Yeah, that chicane too is. It seemed that from at least that angle a little more blind than the rest of the track. So maybe it could catch a couple drivers out. And there seemed to be a bump coming out of the last part of the chicane as well, going onto the new circuit. So who knows? That could kind of disturb the back end of a lot of these cars and catch some people out. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm usually I don't watch much practice. I watch practice for the new circuits and everything like that. But I'll definitely be watching practice 1 and practice 2 to see how drivers kind of get used to the quick lap around this outer track.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all practice sessions are going to be a must watch for all the new drivers as well, but also the circuit. And let's see what kind of overtaking we'll be able to get maybe into that 7-8 little chicane combination. But I think we'll see a lot of overtakes happening on the DRS zones, as we saw with the regular layout for the Bahrain Grand Prix. So yeah, there you have it. That's the outer track, the outer circuit. I think that will kind of wrap up the talk about the oval, the Bahrain oval, just for now, because we want to get to obviously all of the news and rumors that are heading into this week, which is such big news that have been going on in the last 24 hours that normally we would only save a couple of minutes in these Grand Prix previews, but we wanted to dedicate a lot more time to it. So before we move on, any final thoughts just on this layout of this circuit?
No, it's going to be quick. There's going to be a lot of action to keep track of. It might be worth, if you have multiple TVs, to maybe have the broadcast on one and then a driver tracker or an onboard kind of multi-grid view on another TV, because there's going to be action everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Very much looking forward to it. Drop down in the comments below and let us know what you think of the Bahrain outer circuit layout and what kind of racing we're going to get around here. I think very unique situation as we head into the penultimate race of 2020. So let's get into the F1 news section of this Grand Prix preview. And what an F1 news section it's going to be. If you've been sleeping all day or if you've been sleeping under a rock, you've missed a ton of stuff that happened today. We're going to start off with Haas F1 confirming the second half of their driver lineup. Very interesting that we just talked about this yesterday, Tyler. And you mentioned this, that Nikita Mazepin was confirmed first and that they didn't announce both drivers at once. Well, we got our wish the very next day, because the young Mick Schumacher, F2 championship leader, has been confirmed as Haas F1 driver for 2021. Quick thoughts on the decision and what this means for Haas and also Mick Schumacher as well.
I think everything we were expecting from Haas, that we knew Mick was either going to be in the the Toro Rosso. No, my God, no, the Alfa Romeo.
There you go.
Sorry, the Alfa Romeo or the Haas, and obviously the Alfa seats were taken up pretty quick. Giovinazzi and Raikkonen coming back, so put two and two together. Mick was going to go to Haas this year, and I think that was pretty much secured. Pretty cool to see a Schumacher back in Formula One. I know that a lot of people online were very happy with the decision. And listen, Mick's he's got a lot of talent. He's right now leading F2 championship, going to the last race. He had a great race last weekend as well, and one of those drivers that you're going to need a lot of patience with, just because he's not going to come in and dominate right away, especially in a Haas car that won't be crazy competitive next year. I presume. And the fact that he has to just get used to the F1C. F2 is a different challenge than F1. He's a little bit of a slow burner when it comes to learning the new series that he's in. It takes a couple of years, but that's perfectly okay for driver development. And this is a driver of the future for Ferrari and driver of the future for F1.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited to see a Schumacher back in Formula One. And just quickly, I want to add also, just remember, it wasn't too long ago that we were watching him wrap up the F3 championship and wondering, could he get to Formula One? It's a big dream, but not to put too much pressure on him. And a few short years later, here he is. But he's there on merit. He's the F2 championship leader. Hopefully, he'll be able to clinch that.
Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, no, go
ahead. No, I was just going to say that the development that you see watching F2 last year compared to F2 this year, massive strides in his development from just 1 year. So there's tons of talent in Mick Schumacher, and I think that obviously Ferrari have a good one on their hands, but Haas will have a nice young driver lineup for next year, and hopefully Mick can have success in his F1 career, just like his father.
Yeah, absolutely. Big shoes to fill, but we wish him all the best. And let's actually hear from Mick Schumacher himself, as he released a short little statement here on his Twitter just a couple of hours ago in his reaction to the official confirmation.
Hey guys, so yeah, super proud to be able to officially announce that I'll be racing for Haas F1 team next year in 2021. Obviously, I just really want to say thank you to everybody involved, Scuderia Ferrari, FDA, Gene, and Günther. Really thank you for taking me on board. So I'm really looking forward to next year's challenge and next year's work. It's really been a dream that I've always dreamed about, and now it's finally coming true. So I'm really happy and just emotionally exploding, really. So I'm really looking forward to it, and thank you to everybody for the great messages and great support.
So that was just a quick little shout out there from Mick Schumacher, and it gets me every time how much he reminds me of his father, Michael, just the way he talks and all the cadences and everything. So
he sounds just like him. It's pretty crazy. Just interesting to note too with Haas, the young driver lineup in F1. Gene Haas he's done very well for himself with Haas Automation and the racing teams in Formula One, and he has a NASCAR racing team as well. And he actually last year signed a highly touted rookie, Cole Custer, in the NASCAR series. We're racing the 41, and this year he signed a very talented young driver, Chase Briscoe, who will be racing the 14. They have 3 cars in NASCAR. They have 4 cars in the NASCAR series. 2 of them are going to be young, very highly touted drivers over there. So a lot of young talent sweeping through the whole Haas racing program, F1 and NASCAR. And I just kind of wonder if maybe they can do some sort of not collaboration, but it can kind of mix the two, because there's a lot of marketing available for Haas between these 2 brands. They're the only ones to have top talent in F1, which is the biggest racing series in the world, and the top talent in NASCAR, which is the top racing series, and obviously the highly lucrative market of North America.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a great little kind of business sense there from Gene Haas as well. He knows what he's doing, and also I think, just to wrap up on that thought, is that the 2 young drivers, and especially the big name of Mick Schumacher coming into a team like Haas, is going to reinvigorate them and give them lots of energy. You know, of course, Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen are world-class drivers, but it's just been a rough couple of years for the team as well. And obviously, with everything that happened this year, Haas have just been on a very rough patch. So to get these two young drivers in there and kind of really, really kickstart a new generation at Haas F1, I think will help them a lot as well. So I think brighter days ahead for them. You know, 2021 might be a little bit more difficult, but I think looking past that, it's going to be a very promising future for Haas F1. So I'm looking forward to it as well. Just before we move on to more news, I just wanted to post this or show this little adorable video of a young Mick Schumacher. I don't know how old he was in 2000. I think he was born in 97 or maybe 96. I'm not exactly sure, but it's obviously with Michael when he was at Ferrari at 2000, and even then had the knack for the steering wheel in the racing car.
Stylish hair on the kid too.
Oh my God, it's amazing. He's got better hair than I do now.
Also love the Tommy Hilfiger shirt that Michael's wearing.
Yeah, yeah, he always had great style. So that was that. Just an absolutely adorable video. You can check that out on Formula One's Twitter. This was just a couple of photos from today inside the paddock. He right away went with the seat fit for with Haas, which is obviously very easy because he's there for F2. So he just went for a quick seat fit with the team as well. And he was also just already, we'll get to that just after this one. You could see him there with the boss, Gunther Steiner, which I just love that partnership. I think that's going to be brilliant, them working together. And you can just see him around the paddock today with some of the other team members, getting introduced and getting himself acclimated with the team, which is great to see. And this one, Tyler, go ahead.
No, Chris, do you have, I'm not sure if you have it, but do you have what Romain Grosjean said on Twitter today about to Mick, or you replied to Mick?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Let me see if I can reach over here. And
I know I kind of put you on the spot there.
Yeah, no, it's all good. There we go. Boom, Romain Grosjean. I know exactly what you're talking about. I just hope it's on his Twitter. I know he said this.
Tweets and replies, I think. Oh, is that the one? Yeah, that's the one. I think so.
Yeah, welcome in F1, Mick. You will be racing with some incredible... What is that word? I guess that's a French. I guess he meant incredible people in the team. Look after them, and they will give it back to you at 1,000%. It
was pretty touching there. Pretty cool from Romain to say that, especially after everything that's going on.
Absolutely.
I thought that was a very nice touch from him.
Yeah, and I think he also commented something on Instagram as well. So it was something a little bit different there. So yeah, just more reasons to love Romain.
That's right.
And just finally, this one that you floated my way, Tyler, and I believe I posted this actually back when Mick was supposed to drive in FP1 at the Nürburgring, because obviously he would have been on track with Max Verstappen at the same time. But this was a great interview done with Dutch TV way back when in 2002 with Michael and Jos Verstappen. Just take a listen to what they have to say.
You're both a father. What would you do if one of your kids says, I want to be a Formula One racer? Would you encourage it, or would you say, get it out of your heads? Don't want to do this.
We have never had any sort of argument in our friendship. I think this could be the first time we could have some argument if our two would be racing each other.
Very similar age, so for sure they will compete to each other if they grow up and decide to go into go-karts.
But I think horse riding or golf is a much better sport for our kids, isn't it?
Yeah, or play tennis.
Dangerous as well. Horse riding is dangerous. If you drop off a horse, you're in deep trouble.
No, but for me, if it really wants to, I mean, Formula One is very far away, and you never know what happens after 15 years. But if I really will help them, whatever he wants to play. If he wants to play football, I do everything I can to get the best team or whatever. And it's the same in go-kart or tennis or whatever.
And here we are, almost 20 years later.
Crazy what could happen in, it's weird how things like that come together, but very cool. And like you said, we were talking how Mick sounds like his dad, and then Jos and how Max sound. It's really cool.
Yeah,
I want to have them do an interview together, maybe the same interview or reacting to that interview. It'd be pretty cool to see. Yeah,
that'd be very cool. And Mick is supposed to be driving in FP1 in Abu Dhabi. I'm not sure if they confirmed with which team yet, so we might get to finally see the two on track together. But yeah, it would be very cool if they were able to do that interview again. So again, let us know in the comments what you think of Mick Schumacher and the finally confirmed 2021 Haas driver lineup. And we'd love to know we'd love to hear your thoughts, and we'll try and get back to you as many as possible. But yes, very exciting times for the young drivers coming into Formula One. Speaking of young drivers, we finally have the confirmation. We expected it to be George Russell filling in for Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes, and we finally got the answer this morning. I know we played out the couple of scenarios yesterday on the podcast of Stoffel Van Dorn.
Stoffel must be devastated. Poor Stoffel. Second time he's gotten shafted.
Yeah, absolutely. But, one man's loss is another man's gain, and George Russell has picked up the opportunity with both hands, and we won't get too much into detail. We kind of touched on the podcast of what this means for him. So obviously he's very happy posting this tweet earlier. And then Mercedes posted this as well, that George will be the third British driver to race for Mercedes alongside, of course, Lewis Hamilton and Sir Stirling Moss many years ago. So that's going to be very good for British motorsport. And then this was just actually recent. Not that one. This one, only a couple hours ago. He went for his seat fit in the Mercedes garage.
Man, he looks happy, eh?
Very comfortable already. Yeah, absolutely. And then this one, it was earlier this morning. He was sitting with two Mercedes engineers, one of whom is Peter Bonington, which is obviously Lewis Hamilton's race engineer. So I can't wait until Bono gets over the radio and says, "Get in there, George. Well done,
right.
mate." Yeah.
That's right. It's going to be pretty cool. And people kind of forget that a couple of months ago, we were saying, oh, maybe George might not have a Williams seat next year. Oh, they always were racing the Mercedes this year. So kind of crazy transition to go from that. But good for George. It'll be exciting to see how he does in the championship winning car, going from the bottom all the way to the top.
Absolutely. And, the qualifying battle between him and his teammates, he's putting his perfect record up against Valtteri Bottas. We'll see how that goes. But an interesting question, what I want to pose to you now is, does this change? You touched on this yesterday in our podcast about the driver market still being very, very spicy and the fact that it could get really shaken up. Does this change Mercedes' mentality, possibly the fact that they put Russell in the car? Is this maybe a test for him to see if they might replace Valtteri, or is this just sort of giving him an opportunity to one of their young drivers?
I think it is an opportunity. I think they are testing the waters because you have to have the best driver at the present moment in your car, I believe. And if George goes out there and it outperforms Valtteri, I don't see why they wouldn't maybe decide on that or make some sort of conclusion. Remember, Lewis Hamilton hasn't signed yet next season. This could be a test for Lewis's seat. Obviously, we expect him to sign for next year for Mercedes, but still, it's kind of interesting to think of how this could all of a sudden turn into a job opportunity, a job interview for George.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a big chance, obviously, for him to get a lot of career firsts, points, possible podium, and even possibly a race victory. The car is going to be very strong around this circuit. We know George Russell's a very good qualifier. We'll see how he does in race trim as well, but he's completely ecstatic. You could just see it in his face through the photos as well, that this is an opportunity of a lifetime. And like he said in his tweet, most people don't even get to drive an F1 car, but he gets to drive two F1 cars for two teams in one season. So what a great opportunity for George Russell.
I wonder if we could maybe find, and we can link it on our Twitter down the line, the last driver to compete for two different F1 teams in the same season.
Oh, very good question.
That would be an interesting stat to look up, or if it's even happened before. I'm sure if it hadn't happened before, someone would be tweeting about it. So I'm sure it's happened.
I could think of right now off the top of my head.
Oh, what am I talking about? Max Verstappen did it.
Yeah. Carlos Sainz as well in 2017.
Yeah, never mind. This is not rare. Never mind. Red Bull screwed it all up.
Well, I'll tell you what, though. It's rare, I guess, in the terms of it's filling in for a driver who's missing a race. Because traditionally, like, for example, when Fernando Alonso got injured in 2016, Stoffel Van Dorn came up and he was part of the McLaren reserve driver role, right?
Right.
And it wasn't a current driver being promoted into the team. So I think this is sort of a very rare instance in that case, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely forgot about Red Bull doing all their swaps with Kvyat and stuff. So
yeah. There we go. Answer their own question. So good. Okay, so that's the George Russell news, and then obviously he filled a vacancy, or he left a vacancy at Williams, and we were thinking it might have been Roy Nissany that was going to fill in for him, but actually it was Jack Aitken, and Jack Aitken was slotted in instead of George Russell, which, I'm happy with both, but Jack Aitken has been around for quite a few years, linked with multiple F1 teams, including Renault, and now with Williams. So very happy to see him get the opportunity. So let's just hear from himself and to see what his thoughts are on getting an opportunity of a lifetime, and something I don't think that he really expected to be happening to him this weekend. But here was Jack Aitken's thoughts earlier today.
Extremely excited to be making my Formula One debut with Williams this weekend. I can't say thank you enough for the trust that the team was showing and putting me in the car. And while it was never expected for me to make my debut this year, I've been waiting the whole year and I've been ready. So it's going to be exciting. Obviously, my thoughts go out to Lewis as well. I hope he has a speedy recovery. And George, I'm really excited to see how he's going to get on in the Mercedes. So it's going to be a fun weekend for all involved.
Yes, it will be.
Yeah, it's very true. I loved watching Jack Aitken race in F2. I think he's a fantastic driver. I'm really happy. I can't believe I didn't think of him, because he is a Williams Academy driver, but I just didn't think of him yesterday during the podcast. And as soon as I saw it, I thought to myself, oh yeah, obviously that makes perfect sense why he would go into the car. So really excited for Jack. I hope he does well, because he's going to be an F1 driver in the future, or I would think. And this kind of puts that stamp on it as well, that Williams believe in him.
Yeah, he was one of those drivers that could have been possibly seeded into Williams in the past couple of years, but unfortunately got passed over to other drivers. So it's nice to finally see him get the opportunity. It feels like he's been around for such a long time now. But finally getting his opportunity, and crazy, just such a crazy week in the last 48 hours that these guys were getting ready for their F2, the second half of those races, and now boom, you're in a Formula One car and an opportunity of a lifetime. So we talked about the pressure that Valtteri Bottas is facing, but pressure also on Nicholas Latifi now with a new teammate coming in and a one-off weekend. So there is some pressure on Latifi to outperform his teammate and out-qualify him, and then possibly try and get Williams into a decent haul of points. Or excuse me, not a decent haul of points. Obviously, that's the hope, but a decent position up the grid.
Yeah, no, that's true. Is Jack going to be racing the F2 races too?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. Okay, I was going to say 3 races in a weekend. That'll
be a lot.
That's a lot of racing. But no, if he's not, then that makes sense. But I was thinking to myself, is he doing both series? That would be very interesting.
Be a very busy weekend.
Yeah, it would be.
And he will be running the number 89 on his car. Obviously, it was a number that he used early in his days in karting. And just going back actually to Mick Schumacher, he will be used to other sports terminology. He will be racing the number 47. And you told me it was because 4 was his favorite number, and then obviously 7 because of the World Championships for his father.
Yeah, I think 7 was one of his favorite numbers too. So it works out well. And kind of interesting how 4 is the amount of Sebastian Vettel championships he's had in the German. And then obviously his dad winning 7. So cool little number that he chose 47.
Yeah, very cool to see. So that's
the only time that number's ever been used in Formula One is Stoffel Van Dorn when he replaced Fernando Alonso.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah, so there's kind of your connection there.
Yeah, that's very cool. Okay, so that's the Williams seat there filled up, and the Mercedes seat. And now just to close off the news section here and wrap up this preview with even more good news for this week. It's been actually a nice surprising week that we've gotten a lot of great news. And this was even more that Romain Grosjean has been released from hospital. So this is furthering our update from last night's podcast. Looking again to be in very great spirits, and also the fact that you can see most of the bandages are off his fingers, which is good. It looks like maybe his index finger was a little bit more burned than the other ones, but that's great news for his recovery. And then also this photo as well, which is just brilliant to see with his team and K-Mag's team as well. Just great to see them all enjoying some company. And yeah, Romain looks to be in great spirits, and I know that he's really pushing for a comeback into the car. Obviously, it will all depend on his hands and how he is psychologically as well. I think he's ready to get back into the car for Abu Dhabi, but I think he'll need to be medically cleared. But this was just some great news to add up onto all the other great news that we've seen today so far.
Yeah, awesome. And I don't know what they're drinking. Is that a Caesar there, or there's a Pepsi in there at least? But
I think he deserves something a little bit harder.
He does deserve something a little harder. So. No, awesome to see Romain. I saw it when I saw this picture today. I thought, this is so cool because we saw how distraught and upset Kevin was, seeing Romain with the crash, and then the whole Haas team just worried about his condition. And they're friends off the track, and it's pretty cool to see them just chill out by the pool and in Bahrain, nice weather, and get to spend some time together. So awesome photo.
Yeah, I love it. I love to see it. And just before we wrap it up on this Romain Grosjean one, I just want to point everybody to a video on YouTube. This is from Brian Sutter, MD. Now, this is somebody that I've actually been following for the last couple of months. He's a doctor who kind of just breaks down a lot of sports injuries that happens in football and soccer and mixed martial arts and boxing. This was actually his first Formula One video that he's done, which I was really surprised to see and very pleased to see as well. So he just does a great job in kind of breaking down more of the, obviously, the medical and technical aspects of Romain's injuries. You know, he goes into the whole kind of specifications on layers of the skin, and he goes through the different types of burns and third-degree burns and second-degree burns. Very interesting stuff. And also near the end of the video, he talks about some of the challenges that Romain might face depending on the severity of his burns and how it relates to his driving. So check out that video. It's called Doctor Reacts to Romain Grosjean Escaping Near-Death F1 Crash and Explains Burn Injuries. So check that out if you want some more information on that.
Yeah, very cool video. I haven't watched it yet, but I'll be enjoying that tonight to see how that goes. It's pretty cool stuff.
All right, so I think that we can finally exhale, and hopefully we shouldn't be covering too much breaking news between now and free practice on Friday. So we hope that this preview finds everybody well and that everything is finally up to date and we're all caught up on the craziness that was the last couple of days. But it was a very fun day to kind of see it all happening and play out. And tough for us with the time zone difference, because by the time you got up at like 4 o'clock, it was already shit hitting the fan. And then, you know, even myself later on, it was already all out online. But anyways, we got it all covered up. So any final thoughts heading into this weekend's race?
No, should be a fun weekend. Excited to see what the new track prevails to us, or new format, or whatever you want to call it.
yeah, whatever it's gonna be fun. I know that.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. We really appreciate you tuning into this preview. If you haven't seen our recap of the Bahrain Grand Prix, we go in depth into the Grosjean incident, and we provide some more updates for his health there, and just kind of go through some unseen angles and different team radios from the drivers as well. So definitely a must-watch podcast. So check that out in the links in the description of this video down below. Like this video, subscribe if you're new to our channel, and also just comment down below. What are your race predictions, and what else are you expecting from this very unique Sakhir Grand Prix layout? Very much looking forward to it, and looking forward to hearing from you all. Thanks everybody again for joining us. Have a good day, and we'll see you guys after the race. Bye for now.